Good afternoon, good evening, good morning around the world, and welcome back. It is Thursday night, and we know what that means. It's PXN Pentathlon time. My name is Paul Jeffrey, and I'm delighted today to be joined by the man in the box next to me. Put my teeth in. Yeah, we'll start again. Jackson, that was an interesting introduction. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
Phenomenal here on the west coast of America. Good evening, I should say, to you in the UK. But as we're getting set here for round number 4, I can English as well. It has been a very, very interesting set of rounds here. A great dosage of variety. But I think for a lot of these drivers, it's a little bit of a homecoming, something that they're a little bit more used to as we get ready for GT3 action on Assetto Corsa Competizione at Brands.
Exactly. It's back into a known quantity for a lot of our drivers. The whole theme, the idea, the vision behind the PXN Pentathlon was to get drivers out of their comfort zone. Different cars, different platforms, different kinds of racing. And GT3, Jackson, you know as well as I do, immensely popular in the world of esports and sim racing. These drivers, you said the word homecoming. I like that one. That's quite appropriate. This is the time now in the crunch part of the series where we've really got to fight for some big results for these drivers.
Getting to crunch time in the championship here, our penultimate weekend of the pentathlon. And again, as you mentioned, kind of a popular choice regardless of simulator for a plethora of reasons. You've got driver assist, you have variety. This is the only week where drivers are actually coming into this weekend being able to select a car. We've ran spec, even with our hypercars last week at Spa-Francorchamps, everybody running the Ferrari 499P. You've got options here, and you've got a lot of them on top of that, but you have ABS, traction control, a handful of assists and tools to help you maximize it. And you know this better than anyone else, Paul. To maximize pace here, you're going to need every single ounce of confidence you can get.
Yep, you really are. These drivers have got to be commitment personified. Why, I hear you ask? Because we're at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, a tight, twisty and difficult track at the very best of times. But with GT3 horsepower under the right foot, this is going to be nothing short of horrendous for our drivers in this competition. But before we do that one, let's have a look at the calendar up to this point. We started off in the Formula RSS4 at the Nürburgring Grand Prix track. From open wheels, we moved over to touring cars, my bread and butter, the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup at the Australian Oran Park circuit. Then it was Ferrari. It was the hypercar, the 499P at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Le Mans Ultimate. And now we're back in to Assetto Corsa Competizione and a Kunos platform, GT3 Open at Brands Hatch, before we end this 5-event competition with the veritable delights of the Renault Clio Cup at the Donington Park Grand Prix track in the original, the venerable Assetto Corsa original title. Very different cars, very different driving experience. And Jackson, it is going to be a test of what these drivers are able to deliver in any given circumstance if they want to take home the big prizes.
Phenomenal mix of high downforce, low downforce, open wheelers, tin tops, and we end on some really good kind of soul food, I think is the best way to call it here in the terms of racing, with Clio Cup coming your way from Donington National. Going to be probably the slowest cars we'll have on track, just a smidge slower than what we saw at iRacing, but that's going to bunch this field right up, and that is going to be a high octane, high energy finale at Donington National. But I think you look at where we're coming from last weekend, one of the longest tracks we went to at Spa, and easily the highest power, maybe some downforce numbers that will match that RSS4 we saw at Nürburgring Grand Prix. But we're working our way back down the pyramid. Cars are getting slower, a little bit more confidence inspiring. This track, though, not really giving you a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly that one. It is a historic circuit. Let's have a look, though, before we come back to the track, on how this competition works. I alluded to this at the top of the show. 5 different racing events, this being number 4 of 5. 5 different racing disciplines, Formula, touring cars, hypercars. Then we're into GTs, then we go to mono brand. Prizes will be awarded in the top split, which is the broadcast today, on a weekly basis. And then the pentathlon as well will get big prizes as well. What are those prizes? I hear you ask. Well, for the individual events, first place gets a VD4 bundle worth $299. Second, a CB1 worth $99.99. And third place, a HBS worth $79.99. That's just the individual events, though, because The important thing is we're racing for a pentathlon. We're scoring points across all 5 competitions. And that, Jackson, is where the big prizes can come into play, isn't it?
Going to be very cool to see, as we've got some packages to give away at the end of next week. Going to be very interesting, again, to see with how bunched up this field is going to be. Even here at Brands Hatch, it's going to get into crunch time. Let's take a look, though, at how these points standings will work and how we gather them up. It'll be 1 for each clean lap in practice or quali, 2 for each one during the race, another 10 if you're able to finish the race up in front. 5 bonus points coming your way for a second place finish in any split. 2 bonus points coming your way for P3. 10 bonus points for streaming your own race. That'll be done using the hashtags PXN and hashtag Simracing.GP. I believe it's also hashtag PXN Pentathlon. So fond invitation for you to also tune into all of our drivers live streaming across Twitch and YouTube. But the big one, if you're able to finish all events and get a perfect attendance, you're getting a 1.5 multiplier coming your way.
Easy, isn't it? You try working that one out while driving a race car on the fly. End of the day, the easiest way to look at this one for you, dear viewer at home, and for our drivers is we want the top 3. The top 3 are the ones that'll get prizes today, and they're the ones that'll get the bulk of the points going into the overall pentathlon. We'll speak about that ad nauseum, I am sure, this time next week. We're not going to worry ourselves about the big picture too much here at Brands Hatch, because quite frankly, we've got more than enough to entertain ourselves on the virtual racing circuit. Top 3, they're going to get the prizes. We'll sort it all out next week for the championship. And talking specifically about this Brands Hatch Grand Prix track for a moment, of course, anybody will notice I'm from the north of England and this is from the south, so it gives me a nosebleed to go to that part of the country. But when I do, it's well worth it, Jackson, because Brands Hatch and the Grand Prix layout in particular is, quite frankly, a wonderful ribbon of tarmac, is it not?
1.928 kilometer, the Indy circuit. But again, we're at the Grand Prix version here at about 3.9 kilometers, 2.4 miles if you're from a country that landed on the moon, but one of the true jewel boxes of British motorsport, of world motorsport, home to Formula One. Most recently, how we're able to see this in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the British GT Championship. But again, you look at this phenomenal turn 1 downhill section through Paddock Hill. It is big time commitment, and if you're carrying just a little bit too much speed there, it is off into the beach on the outside in the run up to Pilgrim's Rise. Not a lot of opportunities for you to breathe and take a break just over the hill here looking at Pilgrim's Drop. This is maybe your one opportunity on track where you get maybe more than 15 seconds of a breather, but after that, you're working your way back down into Hawthorne Hill and through Hawthorns. It is all about constant focus, constant commitment, because the minute you are breaking focus, you're ending up in the grass or in the sand.
Yep, for sure. It's an old school venue, much like is to my favour, I have to say. Track limits, not really a problem here. You'll know when it's track limits because they'll be going straight to the scene of the accident. That's what the kind of track is. You go off, you have a crash. You need to wind it in. You need to use racing intelligence. But crucially, unlike we've seen much this season, I think it's fair to say, qualifying, Jackson, for this one is going to be absolutely vital for your prospects of scoring even a half-decent result here at Brands.
Absolutely. You look at your prime overtaking opportunities on track. Paddock Hill, you can do it with enough commitment, but it's really going to be Pilgrim's Drop, Hawthorne Hill. You know, so much opportunities would come down to maybe getting it done on strategy, but with how short of a race we've got today, it's going to be very unlikely that we'll see people coming in on purpose. So track position going to be an absolute premium here, and the number one way for us to determine that is right here with qualifying. We're on the hood of Kristen Petrov, the 22 AF Corsa car, as he works his way across the stripe. Let's stay on board with the 22 and give you guys a lap on one of the greatest circuits that the United Kingdom has to offer. Working our way out of Paddock Hill Bend, using all of that curbing on the left, up Pilgrim's Rise into Druids. A little bit late on the brakes there for Petrov, but hugging that inside, using that late apex to launch himself back down the hill. Tricky left-hander pair here, as that outside runoff is right there to spook you. You can see Petrov running just a smidge wide there, down the Cooper straight, out of Surtees, tiptoeing on the power. Don't get into that apex early. The outside is there to bite you. Onto the Pilgrim's Drop, down the main back straightaway. Check those belts, check that telemetry, and refocus as we work our way down Pilgrim's Drop and into Hawthorne Hill, Paul.
Caught me off guard there, Jackson, as I was just looking at some notes. But yeah, an incredible circuit. We can see on board the Ferrari just how tight it is. We're on the Grand Prix loop now. Very little used at Brands Hatch, only for the big events, the PXN Pentathlon being one of those indeed. Now we're coming through into the final section of corner into Stirling's. The left-hander will hook the curb on the outside run, all the way to the outside of the racetrack, through clearways, over the footbridge and into the final corner Clark curve. Very, very easy to carry too much speed in a GT3 car. Understeer picks up mid-corner, the circuit falls away from you, but if you hook it up to the inside, you've only got one goal, and that is run to the line. Break the timing being Christian Petrov does so, goes quickest. He's almost immediately beaten by Vincenzo Senatore, and Andrea Miato says, that looks like fun, I'll have a go as well, boys. 1:23.4 is our quickest time of the day so far, with 11 minutes and 50 seconds of qualification to go.
P6 and no time on the board yet for Amado Castorino, one of the lone Audi R8s we're seeing on track this week. Again, big standout for this week, one of the few opportunities we're going to be able to see a healthy mix of cars on track, regardless of your low-slung exotics like this Audi R8 right here, Grand Touring machinery, more boaty machinery, shall I say, that front engine M4 up on the front right now with Andrea Miato just getting his way to the front of 123.455. But the beauty of GT3 racing, balance of performance, means that if you've got a car, you can run it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant class of race, this GT3. But one thing that really can't be accounted for in BOP is the driver behind the wheel. Amado Castorino is a very well-known esports sim racing star. Expect this to be a very quick time indeed. The Audi Sport team come to you, number 7 machine, 14th on the books. Make that the quickest time of the day. A 1:23.4 flat is your quickest time. Can Andrea Miato do anything about it? First time of asking. The AM coaching number 10 BMW does indeed. A 23.085. Pace already is very hot to the head of the pack.
Not a shocker there for the Italian Andrea Miato, your defending winner from Spa-Francorchamps, and a dominant win at that over Senatore. So again, very interesting to see as we've got troubles. Adam Ely going off. I want to say this is out of the Dell corner as he works his way back onto the track. Got to be so careful here and not interrupt any of the cars at full song. But that 997 machine, minimal drama there for the Aston.
Yep, good bit of driving there from Adam Ely to stay well and truly out of the way. And the good thing about qualifying, of course, is there will be really very little opportunity for any of these drivers to leave any lap time on the table. Just 15 minutes is this session ahead of a 45-minute racing time that we have coming up in about 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Roland Sten, that we're looking at now in the Bullet Racing, number 19 Aston Martin, crosses the line. Only good enough for 17th quickest. Now, I say this all the time, Jackson, and it's the first time I'll have said it to you, but the big thing, the thing I'm a fan of in qualifying, setting banker laps. That's going to be vital here, isn't it? Get a decent time and just edge closer to the limit as the session rolls forwards.
I think anytime you look at a single session quali like this, you can almost split it in the middle because you have your banker laps of guys just going almost at race pace trim, right? Have your markers a little bit more conservative, keep it within the white lines, learn a little bit more about the car that you maybe weren't used to running in practice. And then once we get to the back half, start to trim that car out, make some slight changes, and that's when you go fangs out. We're starting to see that already right now with Miato and Castorino. 2 thousandths, that gap in the front row. And that's between a front-engined inline-6 turbocharged and a mid-engine V10 Natty. So we've got a major variation here mechanically, but it is almost picture perfect between the two. Castorino working his way out of clearways into Clark Curve, just a little bit wide there on the absolute edge. I'm actually predicting that a little bit early. Here he is just working out of Stirling's, and you can already tell he is absolutely on the knife's edge in terms of grip, trying to find anything this Audi R8 has on offer. Here he works now out of Clark Curve all the way to the outside, swinging it down low as he comes to the stripe. Lap traffic was a little bit of an involvement there. It won't hurt his time enough. 122.980 puts him 400ths over Miato for the front row.
Absolutely fabulous stuff. Knife edge driving there from Castorino. This is Robert Kais-Carnes in the car number one in 6th position. I'm just hearing actually while we were looking at Kais-Carnes, Andrea Miato goes quickest with a 22.945. So the times have been exchanged at the top of the pack. Can our former race winner, event number one in Assetto Corsa, was a victory for this machine. We're back in Kunos Simulazione territory, but not quite able to get the fastest time. 4th quickest for Kais-Carnes, 0.5 of a second away from the pace.
We'll do a Mikeism here. Still nothing to shake a stick at there outside of row 2. It's going to be crunch time, though, for Kais-Carnes, your 2nd place championship standard right now at 234 points. That's a little bit further back from Miato, your points leader, at 248. We won't look at this too much, but again, as we get to this finale at Donington next weekend, you want to set the stage as best as possible to give yourself an opportunity, and Miato has done a phenomenal job of minimizing that bleeding, put a comfortable gap to Stai Emmanuel Lopez in 3rd, and Vicencio Senatore in 4th. You can see right now, he's got no championship pressure for 2 cars behind for the time being, but with still 6 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, anything can happen. And Castorino with another leap to the front, a 122.792. The track is starting to get rubbered in. The cars are finding more ways to somehow spring to life. Miato finding more pace there, a 122.897. It's still not enough. Castorino, Tokyo drifting out of Graham Hill.
This is absolutely beautiful stuff on track, and Castorino immediately elects to abandon that lap. Fresh boots will be applied to the number 7 Audi, and he'll be straight back out there again for one final roll of the dice. So Castorino and Miato are our 2 drivers in pit lane, Adamili and Graham as well, currently just waiting for their next opportunity. This is a new name on the racetrack. Wanichai Wong in car number 4, currently 9th quickest for the McLaren 720S GT3 driver. A little bit of traffic on the back straight, no harm, no foul on this occasion. But Napstone will be hoping in that Whisper Crew machine he can try and find himself just a wee nip closer to those top 3 positions, because that is where the drivers will score the biggest points, and that's where they'll take away the prizes for today as well.
Top McLaren for the time being over Sabo. I think some other food for thought we got to have here. Yes, it's a 4-kilometer circuit, but it's narrow. Pit lane is very, very short, as most of the smaller British tracks are. But you look at this being even one of the longer tracks we'll visit on the calendar. When you've got 23 cars on track, real estate is absolutely paramount here. And when we've got some very high-speed, high-commitment corners in the terms of Sheen, curves, Sterlings, Westfield, the last thing you need is dirty air in front of you. Sure, you might have that car in front of you punching that hole in the air and giving you the straight line speed, but that's going back to bite you once you're getting to those medium and high-speed corners. So finding a clean place, a clean piece of real estate on track is exactly what you need to do. And Manuel Lopez doing just that with a 123.877, his best time of the day so far. No improvement from him across the stripe. He's P7.
Yeah, that's a decent qualification so far for Lopez. He'll be hoping for a little bit more. He's got 4.5 minutes in which to achieve it, so it's certainly very possible indeed. But this is going to be a tight qualifying, one of the most difficult qualification sessions of the season. Once upon a time, somebody once told me about Brands Hatch. It's the kind of track that you always have an accident on. The question is how big and how detrimental the accident's going to be. Well, our drivers will most certainly be looking to avoid that one. Come the race in action in 4 minutes' time, Amado Castorino will be looking for this session to come to its conclusion. This is the quickest driver out there on track. 4 minutes left to go.
Somehow the biggest gap it feels like we've seen between the front row, just under a tenth between them, as all drivers all the way up to top 14 right now, and Arminsky out on track. But again, you can see the spacing right now. Good piece of track that Amado Castorino has found himself on. And the approach is, even if you're out in front, Paul, you're still trying to find extra tenths, extra fractions of a tenth out on track, because you know other guys around you are doing the same kind of driving. And even if you're out in front, just that little bit of insurance time, that extra gap to defend. That's why we're seeing Castorino not rest at all here.
Oh, 100%. The second you rest on your laurels, you're effectively going backwards in motor racing, and especially in something like the PXN Pentathlon. We've seen the level is so very high indeed, and where we go, talk about a very high level, a 22.730 Put that in your pipe and smoke it, says Amado Castorino. That is a monumental lap time in the number 7 Audi, quickest by a healthy 10th. Andrea Beato, if he's under pressure, he's really under pressure now for this pole position.
Clearly not too far back from him, because he just crossed the stripe a couple moments after and is not able to find that gap. So we'll have to see as we get down to 2 minutes and 20 seconds here for qualifying. That will be one more time around after this. But again, he's been out on a longer qualifying stint. He's starting to chew away at that Pirelli rubber. So only time will tell if there's still enough juice in it for one more purple sector lap.
Look at these beautiful, beautiful camera shots from our producer Tom Bryant. On behalf of AK Esports UK, of course, this has been run on Simracing.GP. It is the PXN official YouTube channel in which you're watching this broadcast. Thank you to all of our partners involved. Thank you, Jackson Lambros, alongside myself, Paul Jeffrey, Tom Bryant behind the scenes, making everything happen. It is going to be a very exciting race indeed. It's going to be a very exciting qualifying session. Look at this one. With 1 minute 30 seconds left to go, Castorino crosses the line. Does he improve? No, he does not. He was setting himself up. And with 600th of a second, it could be anybody's at the end of this session.
Haven't talked too much about that second row. But again, some great driving there as well. It's been held and kind of been back and forth between Diebra on PXN debut and that 23 Ferrari. Same can be said for Senatore, your defending winner from Spa-Francorchamps, who was able to defend Miato for the win there. So third and fourth, Senatore going to be trying to work his way forward. And you look back at some other big championship names, potentially Manny Lopez back in P8, Dice Collins in P6. These guys are going to be wanting to move their way forward. And we're going to have some Hail Mary laps. We talked about the banker laps. This is where you have that 110% maximum attack mentality of in the wall or in P10. So you're putting everything on the line here. Manny Lopez out of Sterling's, no drafting help out in front, but he will have all the clean air that M4's nose can muster. Out of Clark Curve for the final time. He was as low as P6, but the other drivers started to turn up the wick. 20 seconds on the clock, and Andrea Miato just barely able to clear Castorino. What does Castorino in the 7 Audi have? He comes to the line, 122.575 to beat. Not enough, but by 200ths, it is knife-edge stuff on the front row.
This is an absolute show of just two drivers in qualifying. 200th second cover our top two, and then it's a 6.5 gap to the third place driver. This is unbelievable. At the head of the pack, Castorino and Miato are fighting for the overall. Javier Diebra, that we're looking at now. First time we've seen this name in the PXN Pentathlon competition. Doing a sterling job. 23rd, car number 23, position number 3 for the final corner, for the final time in qualifying. Has he found anything? It's 0.6 of a second he needs to find to be in pole position. I don't think he's going to find that one as he crosses the line. He does improve, but not quite enough. Stays in third place.
Still 10th clear over Senatore. Only time will tell to see if he will be able to pounce P3. What about Ben Beams, one of the strong drivers from last weekend? He works that 11 Good Smile Racing machine to the line, improves to P17. So minuscule improvement there, but still works his way a little bit deeper in the field. Manny Lopez, his final trip to the line. He wants to get himself in that prime position to really move forward. Does he have enough here to move forward in qualifying? Has the time improvement, but not enough to move forward, and that will be all she wrote. Miato to the line, but not enough. And Castorino, your pole position winner for round 4.
What a qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I present to you the PXN field. It's pretty competitive, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant stuff. Then Castorino and Miato are the head of the pack. But the big thing, the one where we pay the points, the one where we pay the prizes, and quite frankly, the thing that we've all shown up for today, that's the motor race. 45 minutes with a mandatory 10-minute pit window, slap bang in the middle of the session, is right around the corner. And if qualifying, my friend, has taught us anything, it's this field is very close, and you would be a bit of a fool if you tried to pick a winner at this early stage, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, one, we know the kind of chaos that brands can kind of motivate on lap 1 here, and I don't want to call anything too early, and we hope that it stays clean and green on the opening sector, but only time will tell, right? You look at the front field, the front row of this field, right? Only 0.02 seconds in between, but you look further back to Javier Diebra and Victor Senatori, that was mighty close as well. 500ths the gap between them as well. You got pretty much the top 7 within a second of one another, so incredibly competitive out in front. And I actually mispredicted this because unlike LMU, we are going to have a mandatory stop this time by 45-minute race. It'll be one mandated stop, as Paul mentioned for you guys in chat earlier on, with a 10-minute pit window smack dab in the middle. Only fuel required. So if you feel like you can make that pair of Pirelli P0s last for 45 minutes, you can make it work.
Yep, with a relatively compact circuit like Brands Hatch as well, as you mentioned, 2.4 miles, 3.9 kilometres, only 9 corners. Traffic's going to play a part in this race. Strategy is going to be a little bit more valuable than perhaps we've seen in previous races of the PXN Pentathlon. So I think that's going to be the turning point for this particular race. We'll have a look at that one in a minute. Let's take a look at the starting grid for this fourth of 5 races. It is Almeida Castorino on pole position in the number 7 Audi. Alongside him, Andrea Miato looking to go one better from qualifying in the number 10 BMW. Diebra will line up third, the first of the Ferraris, car number 23. It's a bright colour scheme. You're not going to miss that one on the broadcast. Vincenzo Senatori will be hoping to see that one in his rear view mirror pretty damn quickly away from the line. Starting from 5th position is Robert Skies-Carnes, our race 1 winner. Can he do it again? It's going to be a big ask from the 3rd row of the grid. Sai Pritiv Sudhakar will line up in 6th position, the second of the Ferraris in the top 6, and then Sasbo in 7th place, the first of McLarens in the number 17 on your screen to the left-hand side. Petrov, who we rode on board with for the first qualifying lap, finishes that session in 8th place in car number 22, and Manuel Lopez is alongside him with number 14 BMW, maybe under-delivering in qualification. Kazor starts in 10th place for Ferrari, and it's Wadachai Wong in 11th place, Oros in 12th position. Bain will be 13th in the first of the Aston Martins, alongside him are Minsky in the sole Ford Mustang GT3. Sten lines up in 15th position, just ahead of the Porsche of Silva in 16th. Ben Beams will be 17th with Pedro Delgado for company. Then it is Hill in 19th, Ilev 20th, Healy in 21st, Bill Sticky in 22nd, and Graham in 23rd, and last in the number 16 McLaren 720S.
45 minutes on the clock as the GT3s are rolling off for their warm-up lap, trying to get heat into those Brembo brakes and into those Pirelli tires. So again, 1 pit stop required. And again, it's a longer track in the grand scheme of things. It's more of the fact that it is really, really difficult, even if you're the faster car on track, to really make that move work. Not a lot of faster cars we can get on this Grand Prix circuit than GT3 machinery. So if you think you've got a faster car, getting that done on the pit stop might be the way to get it done.
Yep, there's going to be bravery, there's going to be strategy, and there's going to be a whole load of good fortune needs to rub the right way for whoever takes away the race victory. Let's remember as well, these drivers, as well as the points, as well as the pentathlon, are also racing for individual event prizes. A VD4 bundle worth $300 will go to the first place driver at the end of today. A CB1 worth $100 will go to second place finisher, and third place will get a PXN HBS worth $79.99. So it's just points, it's just pride. Nope, it's prizes on the line as well. And I'm sure if our drivers needed any more pressure, that'll act as quite the pressure point for them, won't it?
And again, it almost feels like we were talking about this with Mike Naus. You almost want to be either on the sharp end or at the very back, because we'll have everybody jostling for position early on. But again, the golden question here, are we going to be able to stay clean and green in this 23 car deep field? Andrea Miato on the outside in second place. Are we going to be able to see him go back-to-back for victory? Couple of new names, Javier Diebra, Andre Castorino. Are we going to see a first-time winner here come round 4? It's the only time we're not going to have spec cars. Selection has been key. Strategy is going to be key. so too is courage and commitment. Let's see who's going to be the bravest and boldest in brands. Let's go racing for round 4. Andrea Castorino able to get all the way to the outside. He's trying to arc wide as we work our way down Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Miato immediately giving chase as a look further back from Javier Diebra, as well as Senatore as we work our way through Druids for the first time, Paul.
Fabulous, fabulous start then. At the head of the pack for Castorino, just what the doctor ordered. Robert Skies Carnes a little bit further back in 5th position. That's a danger zone, isn't it? In the middle of the pack, you're very vulnerable to somebody else's mistake. But Skies Carnes, so far, so good. Holds position, stays out of trouble. Andre Miato in the pink and grey BMW that you're looking at now, coming under a lot of pressure. Diebra, early doors, hoping for an opportunity as we hit down through the dip on the Grand Prix circuit. It is still your race leader Castorino at the front of the field, but Diebra looks like he's very interested in that 2nd position.
Instant pressure there from Javier Diebra, already braking from the Aston Martin of Senatore, and a little bit of a peek to the inside here as we work our way through Westfield for the first time. Again, not even making that move earlier on is mandatory. It's just putting that pressure on the guy in front of you, letting him know he is here, and trying to force that cheeky mistake early on. No cracks yet, understandably, from Andrea Miato, but all this pressure earlier on has meant no trouble for Castorino. We get to the stripe for the first time. It's almost already an entire second gap between 1st and 2nd. Casper Gassior dropping back a few positions will pick up his battle right now for P11. Bain and Wanachaiwang just a little bit further up the road. He's defending from Mark Oros. Both of these guys trying to get back-to-back top 10 finishes coming off a Spa.
Yeah, this is the crucial thing now here at Brands Hatch. The first few laps are vital for your race prospects. Either move forward or avoid knocking chunks off of the car, and that's exactly what the vast majority of our field have done. Graham has been in a little bit of strife in the number 16 McLaren at the back of our pack. He's now 14 seconds detached from the racing pack ahead of them. But look at this one at the front of the field. Andrea Miato doesn't have the early pace in that number 10 BMW. Seems to be struggling a little bit relative to Castorino, which frankly everybody would do. But crucially, Diebra behind. The Ferrari looks like it's got the moves, looks like it's got the body language and the aggression at this early stage. For Miato, it needs to be a little bit strategic now, doesn't it, Jackson? Do you charge, do you fight, or do you play the long game and look at the overall race time delta?
You're losing downforce behind you. I think you just got to play it conservative for the time being and hope mistakes happen, hope things come your way. Because again, holding on to this set for the next 45 minutes is absolutely a viable strategy. But again, that's already another factor guys are going to have to be asking. Do I waste that extra 10 seconds when it's my time to come into the stop, go for a new pair of boots? Or do I try and save that time in the pit lane and stretch it out? Will that be able to kind of math its way out? A little bit further back, the two Ferraris going at it right now as Cyprizi Sudakar tries to work his way through Petrov. No move yet as we work our way through the Cooper Straight, but we're seeing some guys start to group up early right now. Pair of Ferraris right there, and then a little bit further back, we got a pair of McLarens in the form of Zebo and Wanachaiwang. This is a key opportunity here for Sudakar to make that move. He's staying in line. And I'll tell you what, Paul, this is another great opportunity, if anything, to lift and coast, run a slightly leaner fuel map, and maybe save a little bit in the tank.
Now you see, this is why you can tell I'm a commentator and you're a driver, because I would just be getting increasingly angry and frustrated and just throwing the car into stupid gaps and losing loads and loads of time. So that's part of the race driver skill set, of course. Consistency is rewarded in a pentathlon environment. Do all 5 races, bag the big points, take the big prizes. It's not always about the here and now. Sounds simple when we're watching at home and we're in the commentary box. It is. When you're behind the wheel, not quite so much. We'll keep our eye on the Sudakar Petrov fight. We'll keep our eye on the Javier Diebra fight that we see here. Andrea Miato, last time around, managed to find a 1/10 of a second. Neither here nor there as things stand, because these two are almost glued together as one. But for my money, that Ferrari looks like it has just a little bit more pace and enthusiasm at this stage. Enthusiasm, by the way, for Brini Silva does not lack one iota to the inside of Druids. The Porsche finds a little spot. I think Hill was a little bit generous on that occasion, but it is advantage to the number 8 up into 18th.
Clean move there. And again, yeah, Hill giving that door a little bit of openness there for Silva to squeeze on through in the Porsche, but that is still a very clean move. Ryan Hill now under a little bit of attack further back as Stern tries to make that a second position lost for him. As we work our way back through Pilgrims, looks like they'll stay status quo for the time being. Back to Diabra, though, I think, if anything, the frustration is knowing that Castorino is starting to put that gap on as we see a look to the inside here from Stern, trying to sell him a dummy. Hill actually buys it to an extent. You can see him choke up and run wide here, coming out of Sheen, and that will be another spot lost. P20 now for Ryan Hill.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a mistake, racing too much in the rearview mirror and not through the windshield. Easy to do, unfortunately, but good stuff for Sten. Up in another position, Andrea Miato still in second place, but that comfortable additional 10th I spoke about on the last lap, yeah, gone, a distant memory. Those 0.3 of a second that separated our second and third place car has now changed to about a heartbeat between the two of them. We have the gap. The question is, do we have enough space to insert that Ferrari? That's what Diabra is going to be thinking. And Andrea Miato, for my money at this moment, Jackson, looks a little bit ragged in that 10 BMW.
But if I'm driving the 23, I'm looking at that gap right now to Castorino up the road. I'm asking myself, I can make this move. I've got the pace, but what is that gap going to look like? Will it be up to 2.53 seconds? How much more work will I have to do then to close that gap just to make this move possible in the first place? That being said, Miato is still defending like crazy. What's my car going to look like? We might still be on track. Hopefully neither of us will be in the wall, obviously, but is there going to be some nicks to my carbon fiber? Is my aero going to be upset? What's it going to look like? So all of that is kind of the gentle hand keeping you away from making those, as I've been told in coaching, those expensive moves. Back over here, it looks like Sudakar's put a healthy gap on Petrov, but the battle for P9 starting to come alive as Sabo starting to feel the pressure from that fellow McLaren of Wanachai Wong. It's difficult to get that move done in Paddock Hill Bend, but that will not keep Wanachai Wong from looking down low over the apex. We're back on board, though, with Javi Diabra, and he is right there, nearly contact between the two, working through the Graham Hill Bend. It is credit card gap between the two.
Yeah, Diabra's going to have to be very, very cautious in the 23 Ferrari at this stage. He's definitely got the pace over Andrea Miato. In fact, if anything, Miato's starting to adopt a bit of a defensive posture, and that's going to cost time to our race leader Castorino. Now a healthy 2.5 seconds further up the road. But the big problem is, Murray Walker said it, we've seen it so many times in racing. Catching's one thing, passing is an entirely different thing indeed. Here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, overtaking opportunity are about as rare as hen's teeth. So it's going to take a lot of commitment to take that second position away from Andrea Miato. 2.2 seconds is the gap now between our race leaders. That's going to change the next time we cross the start-finish line. But for Diabra, it's got to be quick, it's got to be soon, otherwise there's a danger that Amado Castorino will walk away from this one unchallenged at the head of the pack.
Good charge forward so far for Emmanuel Lopez. Has gained a couple of positions here at the start, has cleared a good pair of the Ferraris, cleared both of the Ferraris, matter of fact, but he is certainly not out of the woods for the time being because Sudakar is right there and gaining. It's starting to evolve here into a little bit of a phone booth fight, but the question is who's kind of fighting who. He's closing that gap to Stice Collins further up the road, but that number 9 Ferrari, that all-red machine, is right there, and just like that, he's within drafting distance, and another duel has involved here. We're 10 minutes in.
Fantastic stuff. Cypriot Sudakar, of course, will be a familiar name to anybody that's familiar with SRO Esports. Was very successful in the SRO Asia Challenge, having a bit of a quiet PXN Pentathlon competition, I think it's fair to say, over the preceding 3 rounds even. This is round number 4 or 5. It does seem like the pace is starting to come alive now in the number 9 Ferrari. Small matter of getting the BMW out of the way. That BMW is not the smallest of GT3 cars, it has to be said. It's going to be feel borderline gargantuan at this Brands Hatch Grand Prix Indy circuit. Sudakar needs to be on top form to find a Ferrari-sized gap in which to insert himself. Let's have a look now as we run through clearways in the Clark curve. Not really an overtaking opportunity, but Sudakar will take the wide line, try and nip it in nice early to the apex and get the run through into Graham Hill. No opportunities so far. Lopez millimetre precise in where he places the number 14.
Again, I think the strat here for the two Ferraris now on attack, both Diebra and Sudakar, is just keep selling dummies and praying that the guy in front miscalculates the distance, maybe thinks he's a little bit closer than he thought, or maybe just pushing him into a mistake. That's the only thing you can really do at this point. Diebra still in lockstep, working out. You can see the whole back of the car drop, the nose rise coming off of the curbs, as these guys are absolutely maximizing this mechanical grip, whether it's the Pirelli rubber or the setup in these suspensions. And Diebra, we're seeing that gap expand a little bit here. Talking about millimeter precision here. Right there through Westfield is immediately what's telling me how much these guys have it dialed in. We'll see it again here, working through the Sheen curve, but they're getting a good amount of that grass taken away on the inside as well. You want to talk about millimeter precision. You got 3 different tires having 3 different levels of grip. You're almost board sliding the floor of the car over the curbing on the inside. If you have your wheel or your wing just 1 tick off, that is absolutely Spin City. So everybody at the front of the field right now has it absolutely dialed in. It is street circuit kind of precision right now that these guys are trying to have to really maximize this pace, Paul.
And talk about precision. Have a look at this one. 3 cars separated by absolutely nothing at this moment in time. In fact, this is Szabo's opportunity to the inside. A mistake from Petrov. He has the outside line. He's going to be vulnerable into the hairpin, and yes, he is. Plenty of racing room given. The 17 slides his way up. Wanachai Wong trying to buy into this one as well. That's the number 4 at the back of your shot. But Petrov, for now, holds on to it. As I say that one, contact between the two. Petrov a little bit wide, Wanachai Wong into the wall, and that is Gaisaw trying to find a way past as well. All kinds of shenanigans in the middle of the pack. Christian Petrov, predominantly the one involved in the heart of it all. Everybody survives. Wanachai Wong, the most disadvantaged, losing 2 positions, and Gaisaw thinking, thank you very much, boys. Don't know what happened there. Pretty grateful for it. I'll take those 2 positions that you've just given away.
Another bit of a look here from Wanachai Wong. This is far too fast of a place to get it done. Let's watch this replay. Look at the marbles, the black polka dots and chunks of rubber on the right side of your track. That's why we're seeing him carry too much speed. It's stuck to the tires. He's got no grip. And Wanachai Wong, trying to go with him, gets a real big lick on the inside of Hawthorne's. We've got more drama further back. I want to say this is lap traffic of potentially Beliski or Graham, and everyone gets checked up. It's another attempt of a look down low for Wanachai Wong as he tries to get it done on Clark Curve all the way up into the grass. Is Petrov will go 2 abreast to complete lap number 9, and Wanachai Wong now with a prime opportunity will make it a done deal and gets that McLaren into P10. Not out of the woods yet though, because Petrov able to plant and launch up the hill into Druids. We're still too wide. Petrov losing major time here. And when he's up in the marbles once again, he loses that spot for good. It's P10 for Wanachai Wong.
That is a very, very visual representation of just what it's like to race at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. You may be sitting pretty, thinking about attacking the car in front, and then in a split second, it can all go very wrong indeed. We're looking at side pretty. Sudakar in 7th place at this moment in time, still chasing Emmanuel Lopez, still not able to find a way past the BMW. Not quite in an attacking posture just yet, but Lopez having perhaps not quite the middle phase of the race he was hoping. Strong start from 9th on the grid to make his way up in a 6th position, but that stall, that charge has stolen out somewhat, and Sudakar now seems to be the driver in the ascendancy. Currently in 7th, I don't think it's going to stay that position for long, Jackson.
Big takeaway from that battle earlier. If you're wide in Clark Curve, you are spending the next 3 or 4 corners trying to recover that momentum. Paddock Hill Bend and Druids, not necessarily the slowest corners, and that momentum all gathers up as we continue to watch Adam Ely now in the 997. He's worked his way forward again with the move on hill, but is on a little bit of an archipelago at this point.
Adam Healy, of course, from Simracing.GP, who are the people that were running this particular competition. And if you're interested in SGP, give us a search on YouTube, find out your place to go motor racing in the world of virtual motorsports. Lots of communities, lots of great activations, including the PXN Pentathlon, in which we're on rounds 4 of 5 now. And Adam Healy doing a sterling job to keep the car relatively far away from the barriers and up in a healthy 19th position, just ahead of Hill in 20th.
The two Simracing.GP showrunners going at it back there, with Ryan Hill also being a staff member. So the two flag bearers going at it further back, but the battle for the podium
equally good or equally
continues.
bad, Jackson.
Yeah, continues to rage on here. Hey, we'll talk about that later. Javier Ebro with a great tow here down the straightaway as we work our way out of Paddock Hill Bend. We've got a car in the wall. It's Michael Arminski, and that looks to be, I'm trying to figure out where that is on track. That looks potentially like Armhorn. Oh my goodness. Last thing you want to do is have that car broadside, and we thought that was almost going to be an unsafe rejoin. I heard that gas, Paul. I know what we were thinking that was going to be, but thank our lucky stars, somehow, some way, Arminski back on track.
Yes, that was very, very, very risky indeed from Arminski. Secondary contact as well to the inside barrier, which doesn't help. So that Ford Mustang might be visiting pit lane very nearly. I can hear our producer, by the way, mumbling under his breath. That might not have been his fault. I can smell a replay coming sometime in the near future while we unpick what happened to Michal Arminski's race. Here we go. So the Ford Mustang GT3 looks clean. So far, so good. This is a tricky part of the racetrack. Very easy to drop it of your own accord. And unfortunately, there's very little you can do about that one when there's a stranded Iliev ahead of you.
So unfortunately, just kind of a passenger in at that moment, nowhere that Arminski could really go. So the lone Ford Mustang drops it back significantly as a result. 15 minutes away here in round number 4. Nobody home right now for Amedeo Castorino. 2 seconds and change. Let's ride on board with this drama from the Ford Mustang. And already, oh my goodness, I think it was just braking on the curb on the outside for that BMW. Didn't lock the brakes down and just migrated down to the racing line. Nowhere that Mustang could go, Paul.
Oh, I've got less sympathy for Arminski now. First time around, I thought he was blind, but I'm afraid that was always going to happen. And it's polar opposite to your mentality to brake in a race car when you don't need to. I think Arminski might look back at that one and think, discretion perhaps is the better part of valor. Iho, we'll look at that one a little bit later on, because what is interesting is we're looking at Sai Prithvi Sudhakar as the pit window opens at the top of your screen. Sudhakar up into 6th position. So who's he overtaking? I'm sure it's Lopez. So Lopez is some kind of trouble.
Manny Lopez dropping back a position must have been a mistake there that he was able to capitalize on. A little bit of dust being puffed up there. Both of these guys starting to turn up the wick. Car is lighter than it's been all weekend long, or at least all race long. And that means that we're starting to see some more aggression between these two. 10-minute pit window just opened. Do we have any takers this time by Adam Eli and Mark Oros coming to the box for their mandated stop? No one at the sharp end of the field giving it just quite yet, but Javier Yebra continuing to put the pressure a little bit wide there. Goes Miyato. That won't be a move for Yebra, but he is right on the bumper of that BMW.
Yeah, this is big pressure time now for our 2nd and 3rd position cars, respectively. 2nd place, Andrea Miyato. Let's remember that Andrea, he won the 2nd event of the 5-event competition, iRacing, Oran Park, in the BMW. Not dissimilar to the GT3s that we're driving right here, right now. Javier Yebra is new to PXN competition. First time we've seen what this young man has to offer. And the answer seems to be a lot of speed and a fair share of aggression as well. Big question is, can they get it done on track? Will they wait for the pit stops? And crucially, will somebody do something different on strategy for once in the sweet time of competition? Somebody do something different on strategy, please, as our 2 race leaders continue to squabble it out.
Starting to see a little bit of overdriving, more puffs of dirt there as we work our way out of Sheen Curve and out of Sterling Skies, running a little bit wider, getting a little bit more confident, carrying this speed, as again, cars are lighter than they've been this entire stint. No takers this time by a couple more guys coming in further back. Want to try Wang, Steen, Hill, and Arminski to the box. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Are we even going to see an opportunity here for an undercut? I don't think so. I think we'll see everybody probably coming in as late as possible in the pit window, unless the Yebra wants to come in. It's such a gamble at this point because you've got so many cars who are now starting to pit already. It's such a gamble, Paul, because you don't know potentially with the undercut. Yes, you're getting yourself potentially a new pair of boots, but you don't know where you're going to be on a racetrack, who you're surrounding yourself around. You need clean air for that undercut to work, and that in and of itself is a gamble right now.
Precisely that, exactly right. This is when drivers that have got a little bit of a support network around them, somebody looking at the statistics, somebody looking at the data, find out where you can reinsert yourself into fresh air. But the crucial thing is, if you're the likes of Diebra and you're absolutely holed up behind the back of Andre Miato, the easiest way to affect an overtake is do something different in strategy. Something to throw into the mix of thinking, though. While Diebra and Miato are fighting, contrary to popular opinion and what normally happens, they're actually closing the gap to Castorino. How much of that is pace? How much of that is Castorino managing his race at the head of the pack? We don't know the answer to, but the end result's still the same. That gap now closed down to 1.6 seconds. It was 2.5 just 3 laps ago.
For sure being easier on his tires right now. I think he's just able to manage his pace at least slightly and try and prolong the life in those Pirellis much more than Miato, and especially Diebra, the big loser here, losing all of that downforce and having those tires do a good majority of that work. But even as we ride on board with the wing right now of that factory colored R8, these guys are certainly still in sight and still in mind. And Miato starting to actually put in a little bit of a gap now to Diebra. Maybe Diebra now starting to back off as well. And now we're starting to see guys get to game time in terms of strategy. What's the move? Do I try and stretch this out with tires, or do I just gas and go? Only time will tell, but the pace we're seeing right now from Gassior, from Ely, from Wanachai Wong, from a lot of these guys who have come in, that's going to be a quick answer to tell us how different the pace is right now between the new tires and the old ones. Everybody overdriving. Miato and Diebra both off, and they are on the knife's edge. Looking like everybody so far here, looking at the timing screen, has indeed gone in for fuel. And here comes Diebra, the undercut attempt for the Ferrari driver. And for the first time this entire race, no pressure for Andrea Miato.
Somebody phone Mike Noss and tell them that somebody has gone off of strategy and done something different. Well done, Javier Diebra. Hip, hip, hooray. Recognise the fact that Andrea Miato is the proverbial cork in the bottle and he's gone off sequence. This could be brilliant now. The number 23 in pit lane will know when the little P next to his name disappears that he's back out on the racetrack. But this is going to be vital. If Diebra can get out in clean air, he can use the natural pace he has over Andrea Miato. And as you say, try and do that undercut. So when Miato stops, he'll come out ahead. This is really important stuff. Andrea Miato in the number 10 needs to do the lap of his life if he wants to hold on to that second position now.
I'll tell you what, though, Miato is starting to chip away at that gap to Castorino, 1.2 seconds, the gap now. And I think even just having him out of his mirrors is letting that BMW driver convert a lot of that brain space into going things out and closing that gap. Not quite within overtaking distance. We've got a car around. It looked like one of the McLarens, I want to say Graham there. But Miato continuing to chip away at that gap. Another time by, and they'll extend it for another lap. Only a handful more times you can go in now because we only have about 4 minutes left on that pit window.
We've got some traffic as well in the equation. We've not spoken about traffic for the race leaders. That may play a part. It's a difficult place to overtake even when you're putting a lap on the car in front. There is Javier Diebra, by the way. So he comes out in 11th position, clearly the leader of those that have made the pit stop already, but crucially he's got some breathing room between himself and Silver ahead. This could be very, very interesting. Lopez, another one of our front runners from 7th, jumps down pit lane as well.
How quickly is that gap going to go away? Again, Silva was running way back in P15, and we know that we've got potentially race-winning pace here in Diebra, so how quickly is that gap going to close? Is Silva going to come in this time and allow Diebra a little bit more breathing room? Yes, it is. So all of a sudden, 11, Lopez become the next two out on track. That is a major, major improvement there. And again, exactly what the doctor ordered. So next car up the road, a whole 5 seconds in the form of Olev. Exactly what he needs.
Jackson, this is interesting. Emmanuel Lopez has jumped everybody. So Diebra still in 10th position. Emmanuel Lopez, I remember I said a few moments ago, came in from 7th. Boom. WRT BMW has done very, very nicely. In fact, I'm hearing in my ear from Tom Bryant, 23 seconds slower Diebra, so something didn't go well in pit lane.
Either something not going well, or that was indeed new boots for Diebra. So we talked about him going off strategy. He might have been really off strategy because we're looking at selections right now. Everybody just gassing and going, but Diebra might be that one big exception. It's really worked though for Manny Lopez right now in terms of track position. And I'm liking the gas and go mentality right now for Manny. Yes, you might not have as much grip, but we already know how difficult it is to make a move stick here at Brands. So it's going to be very, very critical to see what the strategy is going to be from the front of the field. What is the response going to be? It'll be Castorino, Miato, and Senatori in this time. Sudakar, Stice Collins, Sabo, and Bain all coming in just now. Sudakar looking to come out in P4, and Castorino doing a little bit of lawn work there in that R8 on the absolute limit, and he is starting to show the pace a little bit more now than Miato. Back up to 2 seconds, the gap between our leaders.
Very fast Castorino the last couple of times around. Because this is ACC, of course, it'll take a few days for the timing tower to update itself, so bear with us while we work out where everybody is. But I reckon this is going to be vital now for Castorino. There we go, in second position. Miato in pit lane as well, and a very fast pit entry as well, it has to be said, for the number 10.
Yeah, that might be a penalty, or I think he might have had a little bit of a tap there to the wall on the inside. But if you're not going to make up time on track, you got to do everything you can to maximize it on the inside. So that is driving at the absolute limit. And there's the splash and dash we saw for Castorino. What's the blend going to look like for Miato? Looks like he's taking a little bit more fuel now as he just works his way off of the jacks. And that will actually put a car between him as we watch from the timing tower. The blend, big time lap traffic there for Miato. This is going to be heartbreak for your two-time race winner so far this season. He's got a McLaren in the way, a BMW in the way. All of these guys having to give way, and it's not conventional blue flag rules like Formula One. These guys can kind of fight to maintain their track position. So Castorino, exactly what the doctor ordered for him to keep that lead.
Well, this tyre choice has not worked out for Diebra at all. 8th position at the end of the day. Everybody's gone for the gas and go. It is only Diebra, it appears, on face value, that has elected to fit boots. Yes, he's got fresher Pirellis. Problem is, there's 7 cars in front of him, 17 minutes left to do it. This is going to be a very big ask to even recover back to where he was. Never mind, go for a race victory bid.
I think it was just failing to read the room there, but he's already taken another one, taken Sabo for P7. We saw that on our timing screen. But your big winner in this scenario is Senatore, who works his way up onto the boxes into that magical top 3 spot. And he might have the pace to get to Miato as well, not too far back. I'm misreading the timing tower. That's a 12-second gap. I thought it was the 2 seconds we saw earlier, and a drive-through for Javier Diebra. And one can only imagine that might be for track limits and testing that inside line through Sheen Curve in Westfield, maybe a little bit too far. So he might have had the pace, but unfortunately, he'll have to move back even farther, Paul.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking for Javier Diebra, the number 23 Ferrari. There we go, serving the drive-through almost immediately, and you may as well. Do you know, sometimes there's an old saying that when it rains, it pours, and that is exactly the case for Javier Diebra. Real shame, but the head of the pack, Castorino, is your race lead. It's worked out very nicely indeed. At one time, that driver looked a little bit under threat, making a 3-second advantage. Comfortable as you like at the front of the pack. Andrea Miato, comfortable in second position. The big question is, though, can Cyprit v Sudakar close down Vincenzo Senatore for the bottom step of the podium and the fight for the HBS PXN handbrake?
3-car advantage, and the big helper right now are those 2 cars he's got in front. One of them, Mercedes, going very off there. Ben Beams sailing into the grass out of Sheen Curve. But boom, there's your race leader, and we'll have a couple of lap cars coming through as well, as just there at the tail end is Miato. He's got 3 cars between himself to Castorino. He's going to need to find a way to outrun his way through all of them if he wants to have any chance against the Saudi.
Well, 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 the pit stops giveth, the pit stops taketh away for several of our drivers. A big change. By the way, having a quick look at De Yebra now, he served that drive-through penalty, comes back out in 9th position, which is still halfway up the pack. Decent results in its own rights, but not what the doctor ordered. At the start of this event, 4.4 seconds, though, is what the doctor ordered for Amido Castorino. This has worked out very nicely indeed, hasn't it? 4.5 seconds, 14 minutes left on the clock. Surely it's just a case of stroking this car home now and taking a very commanding race victory.
Damage control isn't the right word. I think it's just gap control that we've seen from Castorino all night long, just watching Miato and De Yebra kind of go at it for the vast majority of the evening. And I think we're going to see the same thing now. Just keep it within 6 seconds. We're seeing him try and conserve just a little bit right now, but he's really not backing off significantly. You're seeing him take a big chunk of that grass still, working it through Westfield and Sheen Curve. So conserve, yes, but don't conserve too much. The last thing you want to do is give this guy a chance outright. So I think we'll see the layoff for now, but the minute that he's able to clear these two lapped McLarens, it's fight on once again.
And I just want to take a moment while there's a relative lull in competition on track to shout out the awesome camera work of our producer Tom Ryan. What a beautiful shot here. The famous bridge that Johnny Herbert said hello to once upon a time in the late 1980s.
Yes.
That carries people over, though, through into the paddock of Brands Hatch. Wonderful place, in real or virtual. It's just so... It's old school, isn't it, Jackson? It's one of those tracks where... Is it 2025 or is it 1973? You really can't tell. It's just untouched by Mother Nature and the health and safety police, and we love it so much for it.
You look at where it stands in terms of racing circuits as a whole, and it's like, yes, this place does potentially have the heritage and history to host a Formula One race. You could argue the same for a lot of jewel boxes in America, Elkhart Lake, Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, but you don't want to see these tracks kind of do those upgrades to FIA Grade 1 because you're losing a part of its soul, a part of its a part of its core. So it's so cool to see this kind of old school racing in the form of our concrete runoffs and our cut track warnings is grass and sand. It is the most physical, most aggressive racing still out there. And while we've got nothing against the Tilcadromes and the concrete runoffs that have allowed some equally phenomenal racing, Grand Touring or open wheeler in the past couple of years, there is always something special about, I'll do some baseball comparisons here, the Fenway Parks and the Yankee stadiums of our sport.
Yeah, 100%. Variety makes the spice of life. Vincenzo Senatore, by the way, just taking us back in to the racing action. This has been a very, very purposeful drive by the number 2 Aston Martin GT3 driver, hasn't he? We've not seen much of him. He's not caused much controversy. He's not been involved in too many incidents. But he just pops up there on the bottom step of the podium, banking strong points, both for the pentathlon and for the event tonight as well. These are the kind of drive that I often like to see, and it's not exciting, it's not sexy, but it's what champions are made of, isn't it?
Your defending race winner in the Le Mans Ultimate round last week, and no, you look at the kind of drive that, I mean, IndyCar is my bread and butter, but you look at kind of the way that Scott Dixon and Alex Palou win their championships. Wins are flashy, wins are sexy, podiums, top fives, that's what wins championships. Consistently being on the top half of the field, week in, week out, not making mistakes, that is what gets yourself into championship contention. Robert Stice-Collinis, your champion runner-up right now, trying to work his way into contention as well. Only 2 seconds back right now from Sudakar, and with 10 minutes to go, and with some lap traffic holding him up in front, it is absolutely possible for that number 1 BMW to close that gap. He's got to navigate around this car as well, though.
Yeah, this is another driver that's been a little bit under the radar this evening. Started the lower reaches of the top 10. Won, of course, our first race on Assetto Corsa at the Nürburgring in the Formula RSS4. The Hope opened up the PXN Pentathlon competition. Robert Stice-Collinis doing a solid job so far in 5th position. A little bit of traffic getting nicely out of the way there of the Druids hairpin. What has he got? 1.7 seconds to close down Cy Prithvi Sudhakar in the Ferrari. 10 minutes to do so. It's a big ask, but it's not impossible. The BMW Motorsport car carries the number one, so confidence coming into this one, Jackson. The question is, can he deliver it?
Only time will tell, and that gap is already starting to work away as he's found 2/10 already to close that gap. But again, are we going to be able to even see that move being made in the first place? I think you need to know what's even possible at this point. And Sudhakar is going to be the furthest one he can work his way out of. It's been a troublesome night, unfortunately, for Nepastor. Wanachai Wong was very, very strong at the start, but he's been one of the reasons why a lot of guys have been able to move forward. Got into an incident earlier on with Sabo, and unfortunately, that was a domino to a couple of unfortunate events for him. Same can be said with Olev there, just a little bit up the road. So a couple of unfortunate drivers trying to work their way back up into the top 10 with 10 minutes to go here.
Yep, for Wanachai Wong, there's nothing left really to do now apart from try and beat number 6 BMW ahead of you. Of course, we come here for the racing as well. You want to take the big positions, you want to take the prizes and points if you so can, but it's also about having fun, isn't it, in a virtual space? And Napstone and Wanachai Wong will certainly remember this race. He's been involved in plenty of the dramas, and that's a story that is still to be completed, methinks. 14th and 15th position, right. The battle rages on.
And again, why we're still seeing so many guys still out is you're getting championship points far before we throw the checkered flag. Just throwing green flag laps down gets you 2 championship points a pop. So as long as you're able to keep it between the white lines, you're getting points. But obviously we've seen how difficult that has been with how physically and mentally demanding Brands Hatch has been. We've got ourselves a battle on track right now as Olev continues to fend off this McLaren. The McLaren's usually being so strong at so many of these tracks, but with the bumps and undulations that this British circuit offers, it's gone a little bit more in the way of the GTs. The BMWs and Astons have really, really flexed their muscle here. And of course, I say that when there's an Aston currently mopping the field 14 seconds over Miato.
This is some great racing down here in 14th and 15th. And let's have a look then. What can Wanachai Wong do? He's running out of time. The sun, the proverbial sun, is setting on this virtual motor race. We are running out of corners, running out of laps, running out of clock in order to find a way past. Looking at the pace, they're relatively similar. That's obvious because the McLaren is hauled up behind the back of the BMW ahead. The key overtaking manoeuvres. Whoa, somebody's said hello to the bollards there, haven't they?
Oh,
gone
wow.
for a little bit of a polystyrene collection. If that was real life, I'd be begging the marshal now for a little piece of that one to go on display in the man cave. But hey ho, this is virtual. We can't do such things. But Wanachai Wong, I reckon he's going to pull the trigger into Paddock Hill Bend on the next lap. I know it doesn't look close enough just yet, but this is it. I've got a feeling. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. The future prediction. Here we go.
Well, the commentator's curse go into full effect. We'll see. I'll tell you what, the first domino is going to be forcing Olev wide here through Clark Curve. He's already a little bit offline all the way up in the grass. There's an opportunity to do it. And we've seen Wanachai Wong kind of stick the car where the sun doesn't shine here in Paddock Hill Bend. So understandable to see Paul kind of try and pull the trigger on that. I'll tell you what, he's a little bit wide, and there's another great run here for Wanachai Wong. If it's not this lap, it's this first sector where we've really seen Wanachai Wong get moves done, as Javier Diebra tries to do just the same right now, trying to work by Casper Gassior. 3 Ferraris right now, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Oh, some traffic as well that almost got very spicy indeed. Luckily, the Gassior managed to find his way past, but Diebra now, this is a good opportunity. Goes a little bit tight to the final Clark curve just to get the run, get a bit of slipstream as well. Don't look to the inside on this occasion. Follow the sister Ferrari through. There we go. Diebra following through very nicely. Concentrate on corner exit for the run up the hill. Just have a dink to the inside at Druids. Make the car in front defend. Doesn't do so on this occasion. Just nice and fair. Run downhill for Graham Hill Bend again. Fill the mirrors of the car in front. Make the driver concentrate on you, not concentrate on best placement of the car. That's the key to making a pass at Brands Hatch. A mistake from the other guy is what you're looking for. That's where the easy overtakes come from. And again, through Surtees, a little bit squirrely is the blue Ferrari. Compromises on corner exit. Viebra now has a run. Does he have the real estate coming up to Hawthorne? You don't want to go side by side through here. You do want to carry the pace through the middle of the corner. The Derek Minder straight into Westfield Bend. Maximum commitment, small bleed of the brakes. No opportunity on this occasion through Dingle Dell. Not as spectacular as it used to be, but still very cool piece of racetrack. Into Sheens again. No braking opportunity, no side-by-side opportunity. Show your nose into Sterling's, put the blue Ferrari off. We know he can make a mistake and line it up for the run through Clark Curve and into Graham Hill once again. This is his best opportunity.
Sterling, such a opportunity, inspiring corner with all of that banking on the outside, kind of letting you launch your way down the clearways straightaway. No move this time from Javi Evera. But again, you see him continue to sell these dummies. Here he goes now, a look to the inside as we work up Hellwood Hill. He might have it done. Look at him park the bus on the apex, going as slow as possible to hug that curve. That's shutting the door on Galsor and making sure he doesn't have that opportunity to do the crossover. And just like that, the drive to the front of the field continues for Javier de Yebra.
That was very impressive indeed. Set it up a lap in advance to Yebra. Really good bit of racecraft, clever bit of driving there, and very much a case of what could have been for the number 23. We've seen him in strife with the wrong call on the pit stop strategy and then the drive-through penalty for good measure, but still well inside the top 10 and showing a lot of speed. Now we're picking up Andrea Miato in second position. That challenge is well and truly over and done with at the head of the pack. But crucially, 2.3 seconds between himself and Vincenzo Senatore. Could this be a story? Still has another chapter left to write.
Trying to math out the laps here. We've got about 3 laps to go, and he's at least a second and change off the pace right now of Castorino. Was there a miscalculation in fuel for Andrea Miato? Is there some lift and coasting or some fuel maps at play right now for him to make it to the checkered flag? Senatore continuing to close that gap. It's gone from 3 seconds to 2.7, and now even Sudakar has potentially a fighting chance as he's 4 seconds back. So a lot of drivers suddenly having the opportunity to work their way back in the mix. Or is it Miato now looking to be back at full song, but now immediately you can hear that straight forward. He's lifting big time right now through the middle sector. Same thing here through Sheen. Paul, I think he's lifting and coasting right now to try and make fuel.
Yeah, this could be a big turn up for the books. As you say, roughly about 3 laps left to go, maybe a couple of laps left in the books. But Andrea Miato, not only is he now under pressure on account of the lift and coast for his track position, he's under pressure for finishing this race. This could have a massive implication on the overall PXN Pentathlon standings as well.
Absolutely, as you've got another championship contender in the form of Vincenzo Senatore trying to work by lap traffic, trying to be cleared here as we work our way through Druids. No drama for Miato as I'm backing offline. 7/10 up, and you can cue the Jaws music because here comes Vincenzo Senatore, 1.7 seconds off pace.
Yep, Andrea Miato is a sitting duck at this stage, 7/10 of a second slower than Senatore again last time round. That's a bleed of 2.5 seconds in the last 2 laps for Andrea Miato. He's under pressure. In fact, there we go. It's not even going to be a challenge, Vincenzo Senatore. Thank you very much. I've got enough juice in my car. No problems for me, sunshine. Andrea Miato clinging on now for 3rd place. 4.2 seconds from Sai Fitbit Prudikar. But the question, Sai Prithvi Sudakar even. But the question is, does he have enough fuel in the tank?
He's just going to be thankful. Yeah, he's just going to be thankful that he has a car in front of him now to do at least a little bit of aerodynamic assists for him. Again, punching that hole in the air for him to be a little bit easier on the tank. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to even keep up right now. Fuel-wise, 60 seconds on the clock. And now I'm looking at Sudakar to see if he'll be able to close that gap up front. But again, Amado Castorino remaining simply untouchable. 21 seconds the gap to Miato and Senatore. And even with this lap traffic, Silva and Delgado out in front, it is cruise control all the way home for the Audi Sport Continu driver.
Yep, really has been a dominant performance from Amado Castorino. Came in, was lightning fast in free practice. Perhaps it was a closer run thing than we thought in qualification, but in race conditions he has been unstoppable at the head of the pack. Sai Prithvi Sudhakar is the driver that we really are focusing on right here and now, because this is the inevitable charge for Andrea Miato. Does Miato have enough fuel in? On pace, he should be okay, Jackson, unless it gets crucial in the final few corners. But Amado Castorino doesn't care one iota, because this is going to be a dominant race victory. Audi Sport come to you, a competitive in real life. Audi Sport come to you, a competitive in sin. Amado Castorino crosses the line, takes the checkered flag, and with it wins the 4th of 5 events at the PXN Pentathlon with AKE Sports UK and Simracing.GP.
Senatore gonna run away with this one at the very last minute, and Miato gonna be lucky to stand on the crates. But for the second time, the second week in a row, Vincenzo Senatore gonna stand on the podiums and outgun your championship leader, Andrea Miato. And that Sudhakar gonna come home in P4 as a result. Excuse me, Sai Prithvi Sudhakar 6th in the standings, not for much longer with a P4 finish, as Robert Stice looking to salvage a P5 finish. Great finish as well for Manny Lopez, able to move his way forward 2 spots and think a little bit different on the strategy. The undercut working big time there for the 14.
Some fantastic stuff. Pedro Delgado, 12th position. It's going to be a solid under-the-radar line for the CKR team. McLaren 720S driver, car number 21. Solid result for himself. But Jackson, the big thing I need to take away from this for a moment, do you think Andrea Miato slowed down a little bit too much there? Because he only crossed the line 3/10 away from Senatore. I think there was enough fuel in that car to hold on for that second place.
I'm not sure, and again, I think it was a spur of the moment decision, right? Because we didn't know if we had to do one more lap or another. Yeah. It was right at the very end there that maybe even Castorino lifted to give that opportunity to kind of cut it a lap short. Otherwise, everybody would have had to do one more lap. So I think it was just playing it safe. Better safe than sorry. Could have had the fuel maybe to bring that fight. I think he was just trying to give himself one extra lap of insurance there, because it definitely was looking like Castorino had the pace to give us one more at the end there.
Yes, for sure. I think Andrea Miato will possibly look back on that one and hope that the points given away won't make a big detrimental impact come the end of the season. But end of the day, it's over and done with. 45 minutes of racing action in the books. Event number 4 is now a thing of the past of the PXN Pentathlon Series, and it was Amado Castorino that took a dominant victory, 21 seconds to the good from Vincenzo Senatore, Audi, Aston Martin, respectively. Andrea Miato held on at the death for the bottom step of the podium, just ahead of Sai Prithvi in 4th position. Robert Stice finished in 5th, a solid recovery drive for the BMW driver, and then Sabo in 6th position in the number 17 McLaren. Another good drive, 44 seconds away though from our race leader, which shows just how dominant Castorino has been.
Manuel Lopez, Javier Yebra, Casper Galsor, and Bain rounding out your top 10, followed by Petrov, Pedro Delgado, Silva, Wanachai Wong, Iliev, Ben Beams, Adam Ely, Stain, Alinsky, and Hill rounding out your field of 20, with just trying to find it here, Belitsky, Graham, and Oros disconnecting at the very end there, the Spaniard rounding out your 23 deep field. It was very close up in front on our way into the pit stops, but we saw how pivotal those decisions were at halftime, Paul, and it really paid off for our race winner.
For sure. It has been a race where, on paper, the history books will say few and far between overtakes, right, but in reality, it's been about strategy. The best man won. We've seen some real winners throughout the course of the race, and crucially, it sets us up for a battle royale at Donington in just 1 week's time, when we jump into the little Clios and decide who's going to be the overall winner. What a great way to wrap up a great evening racing.
Only one way for us to really figure that out, but I think that's going to do it for us here at the PXN Pentathlon. We'll be with you all over again next week, same time, same place. but we will stick a pin in it for now. Huge thank you to everyone for watching. This has been an AK Esports UK production. For Paul Jeffrey, I'm Jackson Lambros. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week when we crown ourselves a PXN Pentathlon champion.